YouTube is streamed more than Netflix on people's TVs in their living room. Think about that and how important that is. If you're not thinking about YouTube as a channel at this point for the distribution of your company, this is something that I'm going to try to emphasize the importance of throughout this entire episode. So today we're hosting my friend Bryan Ng. He's a script writer for YouTube videos. He's worked with companies like Instantly AI, where he's gotten them hundreds of thousands of views for their product. And today Bryan's going to give a master class on YouTube, and he's going to share all of the tactical things that you can do to basically implement YouTube as a strategy, as a marketing strategy for your company. We're going to talk about the basics like thumbnail, title combinations. We're going to talk about what should happen in the first 30 seconds of a video. And he's going to share the outliers and success that he's seen with the type of content and the trends that are happening currently, specifically when it comes to long form content and how that's being most successful on YouTube at the moment. YouTube is one of the most powerful ways to build brands I've ever seen. Long form videos build a lot of trust, but you also have this natural discovery distribution mechanism in the platform. So if you can figure out YouTube for your brand, you are miles ahead of people that you're competing against. As always, I'm your host, Cody Schneider, and this episode is brought to you by Talent Fiber. Talent Fiber is an employee sourcing company that helps you find global talent, the best global talent that exists around the world. Why it's different than the headhunting agencies that you've probably seen go viral on Twitter from one of the largest trolls in the world is that they offer the benefits that people are looking for in the countries that you're trying to hire in. So you can get the best quality talent. This talent isn't going to be working multiple jobs. You're not going to pay a headhunting fee, and they manage the HR of this talent for you. So you don't have to focus on keeping the team happy. You just have to focus on getting this team to do the work that is impactful for your business. We use it to source talent for all of my companies, and whether you're looking for marketing specialists, executive VA assistants, or full stack engineers, they're going to be able to help you find the best people for those roles. Go to talentfiber.com to learn more. All right, let's get started with today's episode. Bryan, what's good, man?
What's good? I'm excited to be here.
Dude, so stoked to have you. I know the audience is going to be hyped. Everybody I feel like I know is trying to figure out long form YouTube right now, and you are God when it comes to this stuff. So I'm pretty excited, honestly, just for me to sit down and talk to you for the, next hour or so. But where are you calling in from?
Yeah, I'm calling in from Malaysia right now. I'm in like Johor Bahru. I'm in like Balaji's
Okay,
network
cool.
state. If you heard of that, so he just
No.
bought like some land, like we're in a hotel here. So yeah, it's just like a network of a lot of like tech guys, a
Cool.
couple like B2B guys. So it's been fun.
Oh, super interesting. I had no idea. No, I haven't. I need to read more about it. But, dude, okay. So for the audience, you write YouTube scripts for like some of the biggest companies that have basically just like channels that are blowing up. One of them's Instantly AI. You can probably rattle off a ton of them, a ton of huge creators as well. But before we get into that, what is the like biggest thing that you feel that, especially businesses aren't thinking about when they're trying to figure out long form YouTube as a distribution channel? Like, I think for so many companies, they don't know how to tap into the algorithm and like really like get that reach on that. So how do you kind of start that conversation, or like, how do you think about that to begin with?
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy conversation to have because, long form content is very different from like doing short form distribution. Just because, we're looking at a piece of long form content, it's 10 to 15 minutes long, sometimes an hour long. Recently we've been testing like 12-hour long videos that we can talk a little bit about. So, first of all, it's like not easy, right? You have to record a piece of long form content, you have to script a piece of long form content. And really what a lot of businesses miss is that they'll just kind of post whatever, right? If you look at a lot of like the B2B SaaS companies, like most of them would just post product demos, right? And then they'll just
100%,
title it whatever.
Or like a
And then
webinar, right? Where it's like the content isn't built for the platform is what it always feels like.
yeah, exactly. So like it's not creating YouTube native content, right? It's not something that people are used to on YouTube, and it's not really optimizing for what the audience wants. So they don't really think of it from an audience perspective. They're like, oh, okay, I just have to get content out there, and then they just kind of post whatever. So that's not really that's not really a strategy, right? You really want to think of, okay, what's a strategy? What does my audience want, right? What's adjacent to what my audience wants? And then you just create high quality content that's has good editing, that has good ideas, good titles, and good thumbnails, because you want to get the click. The script has to be optimized because it's a piece of 15-minute content. It's effectively a video sales letter if it's written
Yeah.
correctly. You're supposed to instill certain beliefs, right? And you're supposed to teach certain action items so that you can build trust at scale, right? If really done right, especially for B2B, right? YouTube is where you want to be if it's B2B, because you build such a high amount of trust with your long form content. And yeah, people will really love you for it, right? It's when you can kind of build like a cult following in a certain niche. So for example, Instantly AI, right now the biggest Cody Mail channel, right? 25K subs. We had videos get close to 200K views talking about Cody Mail, which is, if you know anything about code email and you do some code email yourself, like absolutely nobody cares about code email. So if you have a video that
Oh, it's so
is able to
boring.
perform like
It's
that,
like it's impossible to talk about, right? So
exactly right. And if you have videos get a couple tens of thousands of views or 100,000 of views, that easily translates into however many sales, right? And like you get such an insane ROI out of it if you do it the right way.
1000%. I mean, you really are the one that taught me this idea of like the promise that you make with the thumbnail and the title, like answer that promise in the first 30 seconds. I feel like you're so good at this too. Like, for anybody that's listening, I'll link Bryan's channel below, but just go watch his scripts. Every one of them, I feel like it just like delivers on this value so quickly and like really captures kind of the attention of that. I want to take a step back and I think there's this larger trend that's starting to happen with all types of media that are basically anything that has an algorithm that has natural discoverability and distribution within it. So think TikTok, think Instagram Reels, think YouTube Shorts, think YouTube itself. All of them, you have to like good content is the only thing that gets distributed on there, and each of those channels have like different types of content formats that are what will naturally tap into the algorithm and get that distribution. And I think for a lot of marketers, like they, especially old traditional marketers, they're coming to these channels and trying to like impose what they want to go or viral on that space,
Yeah.
or what they want to work in that space. And you have to kind of start from a contrasting point where it's like, okay, what is working currently and how do I work that back and basically build out a content format that will allow for me to tap into that algorithm. So I think you do an unbelievable job at this. Can you talk to me about how you identify like winners within a category for a business? Like if somebody, was trying to go and figure out, okay, what type of content do I make for my company? How would they go about that discovery process of like what is working in my niche? And then how do I remix that? Can you kind of talk about that framework that you guys use internally to do that identification?
Yeah, well, that's a really great question. So, the first thing that you want to do whenever you're making a piece of content is really identifying the channel strategy, right? So that's looking at, okay, what unique advantages you have, whether it's in your product or, whether it's a personal brand, what's your unique advantages and like, what do you talk about and, you can talk about for hours, right? And then what's something that you really have expertise at? So that's looking at the overall channel strategy. Okay, I have this unique advantage is that I am really good at storytelling, or that I'm able to provide certain insights within AI that other people aren't able to talk about because, I've been in the trenches for, the past 10, 20 years building LLMs, for example, right? So that's really identifying what's the channel strategy and what's my unique advantage. And then from there, you need to find video ideas, because the video idea is the lifeblood of the piece of content. If the video idea isn't good, you won't get the click. And if you don't get a click, no one watches your video. And it doesn't matter how much time you spend on the content, the video will just fall flat, right? So Nix is finding video ideas and really like a lot of the ideation methodology, and there's many different schools of thoughts, but the most obvious one, and the one that everyone kind of leans towards, it's finding outliers, or it's called outlier theory. So it's figuring out what videos outperformed in a certain channel. So if you have a video on your channel get 25K views and the average views on your channel is like 5K views, that's a 5x outlier, right? And that's really, then you have to look at the video. Okay, what's so enticing about this video idea? What did well about this thumbnail? Why is the content good? And why was this video an outlier, right? And it's not really enough to look at, oh, this channel averages 5K views, this video got 25K views, so I'm just gonna copy the same title format, right? It's not really enough to do that. You really want to find, multiple confluences. It's like, okay, right, I saw this title format here work here, right, and this similar topic worked on this other channel, and this similar topic worked in this other channel. So because of these multiple data points, you can kind of figure out, okay, I think this video idea could theoretically work well for my channel, right? And to break it down even further, when you're looking at outliers, right, there's a couple places you can look at. Number one, it's within your niche. So say you're doing code email, right? You look at other code email channels and see what's working for them. That's one place you can find, outliers and, certain video ideas. Another place you can look at is adjacent niches. So an adjacent niche to code email would be, say, Facebook ads, because both are a means to lead generation, right? And both audiences are interested in lead generation and getting more leads. So you can look at the Facebook ads niche, you can look at the Google ads niche, you can look at, the email marketing niche, and you can see what's working within those channels, right? And there's tools like that, like 1 of 10. I'm good friends with the founders and the team. They're really cool people. Or you can just manually search up, manually scroll YouTube, and you can figure out videos, and you can find videos from there. And
are there tools you're using? Like, is there software for this that you use to like basically track a niche of what's going viral within a niche? I know that like stuff like this exists kind of for like TikTok and Instagram Reels, where I can basically like track, specific categories or keywords or hashtags for like what are the most viral videos that happen within those. Is there something similar within kind of the long format YouTube ecosystem?
Yeah, so like the closest thing would be 1 of 10. So you go to like 1of10.com. It's an outlier ideation tool. It's built by this guy who's like ex Mr. Beast, and then he went out to go build his own thing. And it's like a software company. It's really like a big niche. It's like a niche tool within YouTube. And they're doing crazy things out there. They're like just innovating just like that, because it's a small, really lean team, and it's really good for, number one, identifying video ideas that you really like, and then you can bookmark it, and you can put like you can put like certain signals that like if a video on this channel exceeds this number of views, or if a video on this channel has an outlier, you can get a notification. So there's stuff like that, and it's also really good for identifying outlier thumbnails. So if this thumbnail formats perform really well, and you can search a bunch of thumbnails, it's like their latest feature. Then you can just emulate a certain thumbnail format. And also like they've got this new AI feature which helps you do the idea all the way to thumbnail, to like ultimately like completing the video. So that's something that they're building out. One of the more cool tools out there for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I it feels so obvious. Like this is one of those things like, oh, just go look at what other people are doing and then do that, right? Like, and
yeah,
and I feel like YouTube is historically a classic place for this, where like people find a format that works, and then within weeks it's cannibalized by everybody else that's within that that category. I mean, I remember when this was months ago, but we were talking about like Sam Solik, and you're like, oh, there's gonna be like 100 clones of Sam Solik in weeks after him like getting that kind of like first viral moment. I mean, in short form social, it's the same thing, but again, I think it's just like, look at what's working, find your variation of that, and then do as much volume as you can. And then once you have enough of a large enough data set, then come back to your own data and be like, cool, like this one outperformed. What was the difference between this one and all of my other videos? And then use that to kind of like create that viral loop. So you've done both, shorter kind of style videos, we'll say like 10 minutes, still long format, but you've also done kind of these longer ones as well, where it's like 45 minutes, like, VSLs, where it's like, literally you talking over a, really, it's just like a slide deck, right? And going through like, as much detail as possible. I feel like both of those things serve way different purposes. Can you talk about kind of the funnel that exists on YouTube? What I'm seeing on my side is people are kind of using shorts to introduce to the initial channel, and or they're just going, hey, I'm just going to do the 10-minute videos that are just like really fast-paced, action-packed. Get that kind of subscriber trust up. Maybe I get them into an email newsletter. I'm nurturing them on that email newsletter. But then I'm every, month or 2 months, I'm going to drop this like hour and a half long video or whatever that ends up being, that's basically just like, this is what I'm going to use as my sales mechanism, my sales tool. I feel like there's a bunch of creators, especially that are selling like productized services or any of these kind of like higher ticket consulting type of product offerings. Can you talk about that funnel and how you see that be effective for companies?
Yeah, I've got some sauce on this because like we've applied this to my own channel, and it's all public. You can kind of see the funnel there, and we've applied it for a bunch of clients, and we've seen really really incredible success. Really like the best funnel that I've seen, and we've tried many different funnels. We've tried like 10 to 15 minute videos into like a book a call funnel. We've tried different newsletter funnels. We've tried different like typeform funnels and whatnot. And really, what we've seen to be the most effective, and is really called like the free course funnel. So what people will do is that they'll have, usually they'll have a 10 to 15 minute video that funnels to like a school community, right? School communities are like really hot right now, and they have like a 4 to 5 hour course there. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But what if you just publish the course in the school community onto YouTube? Because YouTube is, effectively, it's a way to like store video. It's a way to store educational content. Plus, you get, algorithm pushes, right? If the video is really good and people really like the content, it has viral effects. It has the chance to reach 100,000 people, 1 million people if the video is done right, if the hook is done right, if the thumbnail and title is done right. So what I've done with my channel, and I can speak of this from personal experience, is that we just make one piece of really long form content. And on my channel, it's a full script writing course. It's an hour, 30 minutes long. And we just post that. And within that video, I do many call to actions to a newsletter. So it's a 1 hour, 30 minute video. Not everyone's going to sit through the whole thing. So I do 3 or 4 call to actions to the newsletter. Basically, the video is a slide deck. And it's like, hey, by the way, if you want the slide deck, you can go and read this on your own. Just subscribe to the newsletter. So it's a really simple ask, right? You don't hard
I have
sell
to
anything.
show the audience this. This is the most insane thing. Okay, so hold on, let me screen share and I can actually show this data. So this is YouTube script writing, right? This is the search volume for it over time. It's getting super popular. If you go and you search YouTube script writing on YouTube, Bryan's course comes up. It's an hour plus. So an hour and 28 minutes, 127,000 views. This is 4 months old. This is evergreen content that is, just constantly driving business for you. And again, like this is exactly what we're talking about when I say like, in this conversation, like how this can be used. And that's like one of your best performing videos. Do you reference that video in the other short form? So like in the 10-minute videos, you reference like, hey, also there's this free script writing course you can go to. It's on my channel. Links in the description below, or any call to action to kind of like, push people into that.
Yeah. So exactly. So every video funnels to that, because I know that's the main conversion mechanism. That's the main driver of newsletter subs. And now I'll give you a little insight on behind the scenes metrics and like what it looks like. But literally every single video, we'll do a call to action. We'll script it in such a way that, hey, right, we've just talked about this, but you also need to know this. So I kind of made a 1 hour, 30-minute guide that goes over everything, right? So we really optimized the script for end screen click through rate. There's a metric called like end screen element click through rate on YouTube. You can just pull that up, and like average channel end screen click through rate will be about 5%. And if you actually script it right, it can go up to like 15 to like 20%, right? So
Crazy.
We really just optimize everything to drive traffic from, okay, like if one of our videos pop off and it gets like 100K views, a percentage of like, say like 5% of this 100K views will be converted to views for that long form thing. And then suddenly, this piece of long form 1 hour, 30-minute content sees, oh, suddenly there's 5,000 views out of nowhere. And then it starts picking up in the algorithm again. So it like can like go up and then flatline, and it can go up again and flatline, go up again and flatline, right? So we give it the most number of chances to get picked up. And then eventually, crazy things like happen, and you start ranking on search for like YouTube script writing for like a super duper like niche topic, right? That you like totally wouldn't expect. It's like a niche of a niche, and it got like 100K views. And on the back end newsletter, we grew it from like 0 to like 5K subs just off one video, right? And like driving all the traffic to that one video. And it's like subs from organic content. It's not like paid subs. So people really love you. People actually read the newsletter.
They're so deep. They're in a way deeper relationship with you.
Exactly, right? And then you can just sling whatever product. That one video has had, many big creators just reach out to me. It's like, oh, literally, I had another creator, like, above 100K subs the other day. He was telling me, hey, I downloaded your video and watched it on the plane, on the way, like literally on the plane, an hour, 30 minutes. And he was like, oh, like, I really loved it. I want to book a call and I want to work with you. That's what, really deep long form content, if it's optimized,
Totally.
if you actually know what you're talking about, that's what it does.
There's this dude, I can't remember his name. He's on LinkedIn, but he's obsessed with this idea. He calls it rabbit holing a person, but basically like you want to make content and think about it as like, how do I just get them like sucked down kind of the Alice in Wonderland like rabbit hole. So
Yeah.
our short form goes into something, and then our or goes into our email newsletter or a lead magnet. Our lead magnet then goes into an email newsletter. Our new email newsletter then goes into long form content. Our long form content goes into a community. Our community. So just like these layers down of this, and I feel like this is more and more what like really effective marketing looks like. And I say this, but it's like we're not doing anything new, right? Like everybody has been
Yeah.
doing versions of this. I mean, literally ClickFunnels, which is one of the oldest kind of like type of sites for this for funnel, building and optimization, has been doing this for the last, whatever, 25 years. I think the difference now is that it's just, there's so many touch points that you can create. I mean, before it was like, oh, I'd do a paid ad to just like a single web page, right? And that was my only opportunity to convert them. It's like now I can create so many touch points. I want to circle back around real quick though to this idea of like internally linking to other videos. Does that positively affect the ranking of that video for the target keyword phrase? Because I know there's a ton around this of like, and I see channels doing this constantly where it's like, okay, I'm optimizing this video to try to rank for a keyword. So like that's the goal of it. And then I'm also going to make all of this content that's more strategically aligned to just like grow the channel subs as an example. So, and I do this like, with my own channel as well, where it's combining kind of both of those things together. Like I know, a video like that, like a, conversation like this, there's going to be so much value that's packed into this and like so much trust that's built from this type of conversation. But in contrast, like this, if we look at like something I do that's like 10 minutes, that's just talking like, here's a business idea and like how like I would grow it. There's going to be like less value, less trust in that. But if that gets them into these longer format, like pieces of content, like that's way more valuable. But could you talk about that ranking component? Like how do you like, what are kind of the tactics that people use to rank these videos? I don't know if you have a lot of experience in this, but I'm curious your insight.
Yeah, like to be honest, we don't really think too much about like how to rank for certain search terms, right? Obviously, there's like the basics where it's like, okay, if you want to rank for script writing, you should have script writing in your video title, right? Or like how to write a script, something along those lines. So, but like we don't really think specifically, okay, how do we rank it? Really, a lot of the focus comes down to how do we make the best video possible, and how do we have the most views, or how can we script it in such a way, or how can we record it in such a way, how can we edit in such a way that it increases conversions. And if the video is good enough, you kind of see like the video just naturally starts to rank because it actually helps to solve people's problems. So
Totally.
really we think about it from like an avatar first, right? How do we actually help someone solve a problem very deeply? And if we help someone solve a problem and they can put it into certain action steps and like go out and apply it, there's very high viewer satisfaction. And it's very high viewer satisfaction, it starts ranking for certain search terms. And then there's mini stuff that you can do, right? There's like the thumbnail file name should be the same as the title. The video that you upload, the file name of the video should be the same as the title, right? It should have certain keywords that you're trying to rank for. And in the description, right, you want to, you want to write it in such a way
those
that,
as well. Yeah. So traditional
exactly,
SEO
right?
strategies and tactics like that you use.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's really just like thumbnail name, video file name, and the description, right? These are like the three things that you can really, mini optimizations. And then other than that, it's just making the best video possible, making the best content. Yeah.
Totally. How much thumbnail testing do you guys do? Like if you're doing a video for a client, well, I guess you're not really on that side, right? Like you're just doing a lot of the scripting piece. Or how many thumbnails do you see people testing traditionally when they're they take a script that you've given them?
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends on the scale that you're at. I have a couple clients who, test like 6 thumbnails, right? Like I myself have 2 thumbnail variations, like, 2 different thumbnail concepts, and each of them has like different colors so that I can test. So, like, one could be like an orange color t-shirt, or like different color background. And we want to test for that. But first of all, we want to test for, okay, which format works best. And then afterwards, we want to test for which colors works best. But, honestly, like there's like a little bit of problems with like the thumbnail testing tool, just because of like how it assigns different pieces of content. But it's definitely worth something to look at. But when you're first starting out, I wouldn't worry too much about thumbnail A/B testing. That's more of like a future optimization kind of thing, where you like try to squeeze out every like 1%
Yeah, it's a marginal
of your
return
video.
activity.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, like when you're first starting out, just like one really good thumbnail, pay a good thumbnail designer who understands this stuff, and yeah, you're good to go.
Cool. Sweet. So to change pace and get back to kind of the script writing piece, could you just kind of talk through that outline of like what a good script is? So we kind of hit the first pieces, right? So it's like thumbnail, title, makes a promise. First 30 seconds delivers on that. I'm imagining like you're involved in the title and like you're almost like ideating, hey, the video is going to be about this. Here's literally the title that you should do. We're going to have a thumbnail that's relative to that. And in the first 30 seconds, we're going to, basically whatever the promise we made, we're going to deliver on that. What are the other components of a really compelling script? And like, what are the things that you're thinking about and your team is thinking about when they're writing that out? Just kind of like from a skeleton structure for a good video.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of an educational video, what I'm thinking about is how can I make the content actionable, and how can I make it informative, right? And how can I instill certain beliefs? So actionable, the way that I think about actionable, it's that the viewer can take the piece of information, apply it in the next 24 hours, and get results. That leads to high viewer satisfaction, because you're actually simplifying stuff, and for it to be actionable like that, it has to be very simple. So for example, something like Alex Hormozi's content, right, when he talks something about increasing your closing rate by dialing your leads within the first 30 seconds of them opting in, that's really actionable content. I'm going to apply that, and I'm immediately going to get results. So that's number one. We want the script to be actionable. Number two, it has to be informative, right? That means it must be something that, has kind of unique insight, has something that other people aren't really talking about. So that's incorporating your own perspective into the content, rather than just, yapping about AI for like 30 minutes, right? You definitely don't want to just do that. You want to have unique insights. And yeah, like really, I just want to combine these 3 elements into like the body of the script. And within that, I want to instill certain beliefs, because more important than getting views, it's getting conversions, right? That's getting conversions to a newsletter. That's getting conversions to, like your high ticket consulting or your high ticket, productized service. That's the most important part. So what beliefs does the viewer need to have in order to buy a service like mine? So for example, if someone needs to buy YouTube script writing, what beliefs do they need to have? They need to believe that, okay, their YouTube channel is like a good vehicle to grow, to grow their business. They need to understand that, oh, scripts take a long time and I'm really screwing up my
that
scripts.
makes total sense.
They need to believe, oh, I don't really fully understand how to write scripts right now, right? And you can list out these 5 to 10 beliefs that the viewer may have, and you want to action that into your script. So these are like the 3 elements in terms of like a checklist that you want to have within your video. So after the hook, right, deliver on the title and thumbnail, the promise. Then immediately after, right, we go into, okay, this is point 1, this is point 2, this is point 3. Right. And point 1, point 2, point 3 must take off these 3 points. Right. And, generally, if you want to increase retention, you start off with like a story lead, right? Just like how you're writing a sales letter or like a VSL, you start off with like a story lead, or you start off with like an analogy, right? Oh, like one day I was going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And therefore, this is how I learned this lesson. Right. And because of this lesson that I learned, you elaborate on it a little bit, and then you give an action step, and you do that 1, 2, 3. They'll make up like a simple 10-minute video. And then the call to action is the next most important part, where
it's just hero's journey. It's always just hero's journey, but it's like,
exactly.
Yeah, I was here and stuck in this place. I had this experience. It changed me, and now I'm living this life. And you can live it too if you buy this thing. And I mean, in its simplest form, that's it's a version. Man, that's fascinating. So do you need the editing component? We've talked about this a lot in the past, of like, it's not as critical as the idea that is within the content. I'm a firm believer of this, that good content, like that is, sorry, like a good idea that is poorly edited or looks worse will perform way better than a very pretty thing that is a terrible idea. Um, are you seeing kind of trends happening in that? I know the last time that we talked, you were telling me that there's a lot of creators that were like doing more raw, authentic content. Has that changed, or what's kind of the pulse that's happening now? What are you seeing be successful currently?
Yeah, really, when you think about editing, editing is just like one piece of it, right? But everyone kind of likes to glamorize editing because it's like all these fancy effects that you
Yeah,
see
it's
on screen.
sexy.
But yeah, but but when you think about like educational content, it's really the most important part is like the idea and the words that you say, because the idea and the words that you say is what will convince people that you're an authority, that you're someone worth listening to, right? And the editing is kind of like the sugar on top, right? Or like the cherry on top. That's how you want to think about it. So really, like a really good script or really great content will carry a video far with very minimal editing or like very mid editing. And editing is one of those things that you can index up, right? If you want to invest a little more in to like elevate the video quality, but doesn't necessarily like make or break the content, right? You can spend thousands of dollars on the edit, but the video can still flop with like a very mediocre idea. And like in terms of trends, right? There are some creators that can lean towards the authentic side and they can go a little more raw, and that kind of goes back to identifying your channel strategy and identifying what your unique advantages are. Because some people are just really good on camera and they can just like kind of like raw dog the video, and the video will come out really good because it's really convincing, right? But for some people, not very good on camera, they kind of like stutter a ton, and you kind of need to script the video out, and maybe some of the editing can help supplement that. So really, it's understanding your unique advantages and like what you're really good at. I wouldn't worry a ton about, okay, like this is trending, this is trending. It's like, okay, what can I do to make the best video possible based on what I know and based on my unique advantages?
Totally. So if I'm a founder and I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, I know YouTube is a channel. I know this is like something I'm trying to open up. What is their like best steps? Like, I think there's probably two types where they're like, hey, like they're seeing all of these vlog style founder videos that are like all going viral currently, where it's like, I am going and, here's a day in the life of me as a founder in New York City. And, or, I feel like there's so many of these that are popping up. So I feel like that's kind of one version of this. The other side of it is, like, doing this kind of script, like the scripting style that's way more structured formats, or it's delegating this to a team member. What are you seeing companies do, like within who you're working with, that are how are they seeing the most success? Like, is it a designated creator that's on their staff that you're working with directly, and they're like basically doing all the video production or the video recording side? Is it a founder that's doing this, or what does that look like that you're seeing be the most impactful for the brands you're working with?
Yeah, it really depends on a founder to founder basis, right? So some founders, really like the YouTube component of it, and they can really see the value of it, and they just love being on camera, and it's pretty easy for them to, if you give them a video idea, you give them like a rough outline of the script, and they can just go ahead and record that, right? That's for some founders. And if you're not really sure which bucket you fall into, just go out there and make 10 videos, right? And after 10 videos, you'll be able to tell, okay, does making videos give me energy, or does it take away energy from me? And then you can kind of reassess from there what you want to do. But for example, some of like, if it's not a personal brand and it's like a company brand, say you run like a B2B SaaS, like you can hire a creator. You can hire someone UGC who's more experienced in on camera, who ideally understands your software a little better, and you can just get them to create content, give them some sort of idea and content direction. They can go ahead and just script out the full thing, and they can record it, right? That's definitely a direction that you can go to, especially if you're running like a B2B SaaS or like any kind of software, right? Where key person risk is actually a thing. So you actually need to, it's ideally that you delegate and it's not like a founder on the YouTube channel, in which case, that will be a ton better. So it really depends on, where you kind of value your time, right? If you really like making the videos and after the first 10 videos, you see, okay, it gives me energy, we're getting a little bit of results, and, I want to actually try to pursue this and I'm actually kind of good at it, and there's good potential for results, then you can stay on camera and you slowly get better at it. But after 10 videos, if you don't like it, there's always other options, right? If you really want to grow, you can get UGC, you can get your co-founder to do it. But I think nonetheless, it's some sort of avenue that you definitely want to pursue. Content's like not for everybody, right? Especially
No, for
scripting
sure.
10 to 15 minute videos every day. It's not something light. It requires a lot of energy.
That's a
It
grind.
requires,
Totally.
it's a grind. You got to put your whole soul into it, and you got to build a team around it. But like, more importantly, is figuring out a cadence that works for you in the long term, right?
Yeah,
That
and
you
that's
can imagine
sustainable.
yourself doing this for, like, 5-10 years, because really it's a 5-10 year strategy, right? There's so many channels that I know post videos for a year and don't get any traction. For example, like our good friend Callaway, right?
Yeah,
Recently, he started a new channel, posted all this new content with like a new channel strategy, 0 to 10K subs in 35 days. Absolutely ridiculous, right? His content's really good, really great, unique insight. But what most people don't see is that he's been posting for like a year or like a year and a half on his other
totally.
channel, and it's not been getting traction. Like, his videos were stuck at like 200, 300, to 1,000 views at max. But right now he's at 10K subs in 35 days. But it's like, okay, like, Callaway really understands that, oh, I really love the content. I really want to make this YouTube thing work. And yeah, he's managed to crack it right now, it looks like.
No, totally. Yeah. I think I'm curious your thoughts on, like, do you see creators just becoming like normal staff members of these companies? Like, we're seeing this happen in the UGC space, like in particular, like working with these brands where it's like, they have a dedicated budget for, I'm going to go hire 20 creators. They're going to do a video a day that's posted to Instagram Reels, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts, on a channel that they spin up for us. Do you see that evolving into, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to hire literally like YouTube creator is going to be the job title at these companies? Are there any brands that are doing that already? I feel like Clay is the only one that I really know that has like these types of people. Maybe Veed.io is the other one that's done this really effectively. But I'm curious if you're seeing any other types of companies starting to do this, and if like that is a job role that's starting to come into existence at these organizations.
Yeah, like vidIQ, vidIQ, definitely they have like in-house creators, and like really their job is to, script these videos and record these videos, and that's how they have these really crazy posting cadences. They post like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, like long form content that's actually good, that's edited, and the title and thumbnails are actually good. That's a very difficult cadence to keep up with for many years at a time. But they have it in house, and that guy's literally all he does is script videos and record videos, and maybe he edits videos and does thumbnails. But yeah, like, that's literally his dedicated job. And yeah, like 100%, like, creators are going to take this in house. Like, for example, even looking at big organizations like Dave Ramsey, right? He probably like hired a bunch of these guys, and maybe some of them have some equity, but really their sole job is to create content, and create content that generates these new like revenue streams for the company, right? That's what has allowed him to like like kind of semi-retire, because he's kind of de-risked himself from just being the main face of all of the content. And yeah, like, like there's like so many companies, like, for example, like Mini Katana. They basically sell these mini
And
katanas.
Katana's
It's an
amazing.
econ play on like YouTube Shorts, and they have, I was talking to one of like the content managers, or like the producer. They have like 3 in-house UGC creators, and because they have like these 3 in-house UGC creators and they interact with each other, they kind of like builds a community, right,
Yeah,
around like
it's
these
almost
3
like
guys.
a
It's like a recognizable face.
totally. It's almost like I don't know if you would describe it as like one of these like influencer houses where they're like interacting with each other, or also like reality TV, right? Where there's like the dynamic between these characters, these like, uh these individuals that are playing these characters on each of these shows. It's super interesting. So then follow up question to kind of all of this on the YouTube side. Like, where do you see this going? What are the trends that are starting to happen? And is there anything that's like starting to occur that like people can ride this like a wave early on with? Or is it kind of just all the same? Like, hey, content is constantly evolving. It goes in these cycles of like very, highly edited to kind of like raw vlog content to highly edited. I guess, where are we at in kind of this cycle? And like, are there any things on the forefront that you're seeing come down the pipeline?
Yeah, like, one of the really big trends that we've seen over the past 12 months, and I don't think it's going to slow down, is the rise of super long form content, right? So there's literally courses on YouTube, 18-hour plus. There's a dropshipping course by Jordan Bond, 3.8 million views, something like that. Like literally views in the millions that generate tens of millions of dollars. And and we kind of see this trend within documentaries too. Everything's kind of getting more longer form. All of the best videos on my channel are super long form, and they're all like good quality information, right? And we've tested it with a bunch of clients. We have a bunch of clients release 12-hour
Dude,
plus
this
courses.
Jordan Bond
And
video is insane. Sorry to cut
yeah,
you off, but
it's
that
18
is
hours long.
wild. It's 18 hours long. It has 4.2 million views. What, they can do mid-roll ads every 10 minutes, is that right?
Yeah, the RPM on that is probably something crazy like $90. That's
That's
like all like
absolutely
even more than
wild.
that.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
because it's a business audience who loves, like dropshipping content. And, I'd imagine the average view duration on a video like that is something crazy. It's probably like 30 minutes, right? Which is a
Totally.
crazy average view duration for like a super long video that has that many views. It's something that people revisit over and over again, because when someone
Totally.
watches a video one time and then they're like, okay, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow, and then they come back to it, that counts as an additional view, right? That's like a returning viewer, and then they watch a
Totally.
little bit of it and then they return. So like creating super long form content has been kind of the play that we've seen. I thought that would subside a little bit, but because of like overall trends within like attention and within YouTube, it's that okay, YouTube is like the new TV. So
Yep.
50% of viewership of YouTube is on TV. So it's no longer on laptops, it's no longer on our phones. Everybody's watching it on
I'm
TV.
literally
So
writing about this in my newsletter for this week, and it's talking about, so in the recent Netflix earning call, they were like, how are you guys thinking about YouTube? Like, how are you going to combat them? And like, basically the representatives from Netflix were like caught off guard, and they're like, like, we don't know,
yeah,
basically. And what they found is that more streaming on TVs, like smart TVs, is happening to YouTube videos than it is to the basically like Netflix. Like, more is occurring there. And when you think about that paradigm shift, the joke I keep saying over and over again is like, Fox News brainwashed my grandma because she showed, Tucker Carlson showed up in her living room every night for years. Like, any person now can show up in a living room as at a cadence or at a length for as long, as much and as long as they want, right? Think about how powerful that is. And that was like one piece of this, was seeing that data from Netflix. And then the other piece was, I had this dude send me a photo of him like watching one of these episodes like on his TV at his house. He's like, oh yeah, I'm making dinner and this is in the background, right? And it's like a friend of a friend. And I was like, that is the craziest thing ever, that like, people are it's way different than a phone. There's something, safe about your living room, and the fact that you can like
yeah.
be in a person's living room, right? And consuming it is just absolutely wild to me. But so data wise, you're seeing that across like all spectrum of like, just consumption. More and more consumption is happening on TV.
Yeah, like more and more consumption is happening on TV. So like making TV optimized content that's really high quality, that people will, like as you said, will want to put in the background as they're making dinner, and they can just kind of listen to that. Like, educational content does fall within that bucket too. If it's,
Totally.
really high quality, and like people actually like want to watch it. Yeah, like 100% make like TV optimized content and make like longer form content. I think that's where that's where you like, benefit from, you know, bigger pushes within the algorithm if the video is actually good, and you get to build deeper amounts of trust, right? Just like being in people's living rooms and being in front of people for like a longer amount of time.
It's fascinating. Are you so? I mean, I see people trying to do. I feel like creators, like, they do shorts or they do long form, right? They did like that crossover doesn't really translate effectively. Why is that, and why is there such a disconnect between those two types of creators?
Yeah, because I mean, long form and short form are two vastly very different games, right? And you think of it as kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, short form is just like a snippet from a piece of long form content. But really, like the way that you win on short form is very different from the way that you win on long form. For example, because long form content is really a quality game. because YouTube is a quality platform, right? And you can have a video that you spend a month on, and if it's really, really good and audiences really like it, your video doesn't like scale linearly, right? It just goes exponential like that, and that's how you get educational videos with like millions of views. Whereas with short form content, it's more of like a consistency game. Like if you like what from what I know about Instagram algorithm, it's like you got to post for the first 60 days, right? And you don't really expect anything, and then afterwards, after the first 60 days, then you can kind of see some sort of traction. YouTube used to be like that, but not anymore, right? You can have your first 8 videos be really good, and you can be at like 10,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers if you do it really well. I have friends who run documentary channels. First 5 uploads, right? They're already at 100K subscribers, and they're getting
That's
sponsorship
insane.
deals for like $5,000 to $10,000, which
What
is
type of categories are these creators in? Like the documentaries? Is it just like news or what where are you seeing that kind of happen?
yeah, like crime documentaries is and
Yeah.
like crime and like 3D animation is what I've seen, and like
The
those do
3D
really well
animation
because
ones are
people.
huge. I can't think of his name. It's like Hoog or something. He's a he's from the Netherlands. I think he's Dutch, but he does like
Yeah.
all of these. Just like I'll send it to you later, and also include it in the show notes. But this 3D, okay, so 3D animation, I feel like that's a huge one. I feel like so crime or investigative journalism. I'm obsessed with
Yeah.
Channel 5 with like Andrew Callahan. I think what he's
Yeah.
doing is
Yeah.
so fascinating, just as this kind of like gonzo journalist creator. I
Yeah.
feel like that is going to be something that we're going to see more and more of. There was the man. It's really interesting to me because he invented kind of the man on the street, like in a suit, like interviewing people, and then that's evolved into this like kind of new thing where it's like both a combination of like entertainment and also news. It almost feels like I'm watching like an unhinged version of the morning show, which is hilarious. But I, I'm curious if like there's other types of content like formats like that you're seeing. So you're seeing the crime, you're seeing kind of these animation videos. I know that faceless YouTubes are talked about constantly. Are you seeing like more like success in those? And if you are you seeing success in any categories? Also, are you doing any of that yourself as well? I mean, with your script writing, I'm like, I can only imagine what you guys could get through, get out the door from a content standpoint with that would capture the listener. So, anyways, tons of questions within there, but I'll let you untangle that yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's like definitely many different avenues that we can kind of like pursue, right? We haven't really, gone out and done like one specific thing regarding like faceless channels, but it's definitely on the books, right? Because, we have, I think the best script writing team right now, and, we produce really high quality content for all of these like educational creators. So like eventually like faceless channels will be like the play, right? Where we can get like voiceovers, and like we can, produce like high quality scripts, and we can get like high quality edits. Like so like eventually that's kind of the play. And like in terms of like channel formats, right? There's so many interesting things that you can do. Like YouTube is literally like an oyster, right? Like it's like if whatever you want to do, you can do on YouTube.
You
For
could
example,
find
like
that there,
yourself
yeah.
on your channel, it's like podcast content, and your podcast content does really well. And like for example, podcast content like on like My First Million and like Greg Eisenberg, right? The Startup Ideas podcast. It's all really interesting stuff. Like you wouldn't really expect podcasting to have done really well like 5 years ago, but really YouTube has suddenly evolved to be this platform where okay, longer form content is being appreciated, and it's really good for podcast distribution. Usually podcasts really have a tough time getting distribution, like say like 10 years ago when Joe Rogan started. But right now we can have like algorithm effects. If it's like good conversations, good title, thumbnail, you can get your name out there like really, like I wouldn't say like really easily, but if the content's really good, and that's something that you've cracked. And it's really, YouTube is really a game about figuring out what kind of content format works for you, right? So that could be like interview content, that could be like talking head content, that could be like screen sharing content, that could be like a man on the street interview content, it could be like a faceless documentary with like a voiceover. Literally whatever you want to do. It's like it's not to say like one format is like better than another, but it's like okay, figuring out what you like to do, what actually kind of performs, and like really testing for that and optimizing for that. And yeah, there you go. Like like your YouTube
Yeah,
channel can
whatever's
literally make
sustainable.
you like $1 million a year, if done
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it's crazy. The RPM we're seeing right now, just on like my channel, is like $5 to $7, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like we're going to cover the cost of the editor basically off of this. And I feel like I mean, Twitter is also turning into this where it's like, I was joking with my team the other day, and I'm like, we are literally getting paid to get leads by the content that we're creating across like Twitter, YouTube, and the email newsletter. Like people basically pay us for us to market the companies. And when you think about that and what that means, that's the most insane thing that's ever existed in the history of business. You're basically like, it's no longer a cost center. This is a profit center, basically.
Yeah,
And this is kind of
exactly. Like I've
go
like
ahead.
literally have a friend who's like built like he runs like a Twitter ghostwriting agency, right?
Yep,
And right now he has a bunch of writers, and eventually he's gonna create like a Claude AI ChatGPT bot, and he's gonna replace those writers. And we were joking about, oh, like usually when you run agency, as you scale, what happens to your margins? Like it goes from like 40% to 30% to 20%. But
totally.
right now, when you scale, and if you have like the right AI, and if you use the right platforms with like Twitter monetization, with YouTube monetization, when you scale, like we were joking, like, oh, their profit margins are actually going to increase as they scale, as they go from like 100 to 200k MRR, which
Thousand
is,
percent.
I think, never before seen, right? Never before
Media
seen
has not existed
opportunity
like
in terms
this.
of exactly.
100%. I mean, you can run in these at 80% margins. It's literally like software margins is what we're seeing with these. And I think this will erode away over time, right? Like everybody's going to start to learn how to use these
For sure.
tools more effectively, and like, the market will naturally take care of that. But I mean, just like I mean, I'm watching friends with like productized service agencies where it's like what used to cost 30 grand, they're now charging 3K for, so it's an easy sale. Simultaneously, they're making an 80%, if not more, margin on top of that because they've written software, or they're using like global talent basically to handle the rest of it. And like software gets
Yeah.
80% of the way there, and the last 20% is a human that's basically just curating whatever the software or the AI did. Random thing for you, because I know you'd love this type of stuff. So simple prompt chain, if you're trying to make like a ton of like content off
Yeah.
of long form, take a transcript, have it list all of the insights from the episode. So tell it like list 20 insights related to digital marketing from the conversation that I just had with Bryan. So it lists the insights, and then the prompt chain that you attach to that after it is say something along the lines of, okay, now go write a 5-sentence post about each insight. Each sentence can only be 15 words long. Include white space within in between each sentence. No capitalization, no periods. And you just wrote 20 tweets that are, basically going to probably do pretty well based on the data that I have. You can do the same thing for LinkedIn, same thing for all of these. The other things that we've been finding that's really interesting is then taking those and then having them write scripts based on that for short form as like basically a way to like kind of cloud seed. Okay, here's how I can go and make all this other content, extracting that out. Again, it's just repurposing, but it just some of these workflows that we're seeing be super effective. So I know you're you're in this world, so thought I'd just share that with you.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, like this content repurposing stuff is, definitely when like, someone cracks it, and, someone really knows how to effectively prompt. It's like magic, it's like it's
It's
content
crazy,
out of
man.
thin air, and you get paid to press a couple buttons. Like that's what it is.
Okay, I got another thing for you we're experimenting with. So I've been trying to figure out like how do you build like an AI podcast network, and what I mean by that is like, imagine a podcast network, but it's all it is just like AI content, like AI voiceover, a script. So what we finally landed on that we're like actually seeing like good stuff come out of is we have it go and do case studies on other companies that are like within a specific. So say for example, like one of the tests that we're running is like social media or social media marketing podcast, right? And we go and we find case studies of social media marketing from a brand, say like Buffer, right? Or email
Yeah.
marketing was one we just did recently with Buffer. And so we use Perplexity to have it extract all the information that we can find from the web. And then we take all that information and then we have it basically write like a podcast script based on all of that insight. Take that to 11 Labs, have it read that out, and suddenly I have like, a 10-minute long podcast. The thing with this though is like, oh, I can go and publish this daily, And so it just turns into this like absolutely machine from a download standpoint. And to rank internally within Apple Podcasts and Spotify, all that matters is downloads. So if the show is named something like social media marketing podcast, which is literally social media marketing, and you're posting daily and you're getting downloads, suddenly that show is just naturally going to climb. And now do that with, 100 different shows simultaneously. And you've got this podcast network that's just like entirely being basically generated and ran by software. And then it's like, oh, I want to put ads on that network. Like we're getting whatever, 500,000 downloads across the whole network on a monthly basis. We just put ads out onto all of the episodes, for whatever company, or sell ad placements or whatever. So anyways, just random stuff we're experimenting with that we're starting to see some traction. So I know that's kind of in your world as well. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. As in, there's a lot of these like crazy AI stuff. Like I know I've got a friend on Twitter. He runs a bunch of like faceless channels, and his latest thing is like faceless AI channels. And
amazing.
like he would make these like 2 hour long videos, and he'd post it daily or like once every 2 days. And the
Unbelievable.
whole script is written with like ChatGPT, right? And it's basically like religion content. And he takes like a transcript, he puts it into ChatGPT. Hey, can you write this in the form of like a hero's journey? And then he has mid journey, like like basically like pop out a bunch of images and pictures, and then he has like an AI editor to like stitch everything together, and then he just posts that. And not every video will get 100,000 views, but you'll occasionally have the outlier video to get 10,000
Who's
views, 20,000 views.
the best person that's doing faceless that like who should I talk to about this? Because I just want to learn from somebody who's doing this, and maybe we can do this offline as well, so you're not just like flaming somebody in front of this entire audience. But
yeah, dude, there's a bunch of like really big players. One of my good friends, Noah Morris. Shout out to him. He's running like a Nixlev IO, and like it's like the biggest faceless platform like right now, and he runs his own channel, so it's like really legit. There's like 80 to like 250K a month just running these channels, and it's like politics channels. It's a bunch of like, and then like right now his latest venture is that he's running all these faceless channels, and then he's building like a productized SaaS on top of it, right? That he's going to charge like 10 to 20 to $50 a month. And because of the amount of trust that you build on YouTube, and we know that just working with Instantly and all of these SaaS companies, we know the conversions from YouTube to like a SaaS platform to like a paid SaaS tool, absolutely ridiculous. So like he's gonna like print on that. So he's like literally launching
it's where
channels.
every creator's going, and they're all trying to figure it out. They're like, I'm tired of doing brand deals, or how can I sell something that I build once and sell infinitely?
Exactly. And if you can scale something like that, like a software to like 10K MRR, that's like however much in like enterprise value, right? That he can like eventually sell for. So it's
I mean, you can sell that for probably
crazy.
$500,000 depending on it, like what the margin is and how much staff that you have. But I mean, again, that's the game that I'm watching. I know these kids. I say that because I just turned 30 and I feel old as fuck now. But they're like 20, 21, and they're just spinning up like a lot of them are iOS apps or like Chrome extensions. They make them go viral on like TikTok, right? And then from that, they're basically like you go and flip them, right? And just do this over and over again. I feel like this game has just entirely changed. The cost of code is like going to zero. The cost of marketing is going to zero. I mean, we're doing these UGC creator ads right now. Also, sorry, we didn't even get into this. So I know we're coming up on time and you got to jump to a call. But the last thing I'll leave you with, I'll send you the data over so you can see it. Basically, we have kind of figured out, okay, we figured out how to make like all these TikTok accounts that are like, basically it's an eSIM VPN, and then we're like a dedicated, like we basically mimic a mobile device that looks like it's in the US, right?
Okay, yeah.
But we can log in like externally from it. So we had these and we're like, what do we put on them? So we started putting just like podcast clips and all this. But then we realized like, oh, we can just like take like a script and we have an AI avatar speak it. And then we background remove for the AI avatar. And then we have them talk over basically like some type of like background that creates a storytelling arc piece of content, right? So the example, like, one that we're doing for like Swell as an example is like you just recorded a webinar, like here's how to turn it into 5 LinkedIn posts so that you can promote the recording. So the first thing that you need to do is go and make a transcript, right? And then it's just like you basically just like run through like the whole journey, and the product is like naturally a part of the solution to the problem. And at the beginning of the video, you're telling them like something that they want, and then you go and do this. But like we can make these videos right now for like $1, and I throw these up on LinkedIn on my
Man.
personal. They're getting 7,500 views. On a LinkedIn page, they're getting like 1,000 views. So I'm basically getting a $1 CPM, right? Is what this turns into. I'm over here and I'm like, dude, all of this. I mean, writing SEO content is like costs nothing basically anymore. Building
Yeah.
this media out costs nothing. Like all of this is just like I feel like we're going into this golden age from like a like
Yeah.
media, like the distribution is one of the first times that as long as you know how to game these algorithms, like it's you can get as much reach as you want depending on how like hungry you are. And then the other side of it is like we can get products out the door so fast now with like if you have just like basically engineers that know how to use AI within their workflow. So anyway, I leave you and the audience with that. But man, however I can help too on the product side, I know you probably have something in your guys' pipeline that you're trying to build. So I always want to be a resource in whatever way I can. You've been so helpful to me on all of this stuff, so I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, for sure, man, dude. It's always dope talking to you because I always get like new ideas, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get to work.
Gotta go. Yeah, totally. I love it.
Yeah.
Bryan, if people want to work with you or want to reach out to you, where's the best place to connect with you, man?
Yeah, so you can find my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@boomerbryan with 2 R's, or you can reach out to me on Twitter too. It's x.com/boomerbryan. So like the same handle. Well, you just search my name BRYN space NG on YouTube, and you'll find me there.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, and I'll include all the links below in the show notes so that they can reach out. And again, man, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.